So I'm here today from Epic Games, some of you may recognize the brand, to basically talk about the real-time revolution of AEC. So really the introduction of real-time technology within the sector. So I've got a lovely little presentation I'll run you through. Thank you very much for having us, by the way. And our second part of the presentation is going to be how we are integrating in with the great tools like 3D Repo and expanding out within the industry itself. So for those of you who aren't aware of who we are or don't have kids, we are Epic Games, and we have this amazing tool called the Unreal Engine. It's a game engine. It's basically a toolbox which is used to create a number of different things internally ourselves, things like Fortnite, Gears of War, but we also license that same engine out to the other game industries, and more specifically today, the non-game side. So where I sit in the industry is the AEC side. So I'm an ex-architect, and it's really trying to develop and enforce how these real-time technologies like game engines can be utilized in the space. So in media and entertainment, that's around virtual production. In manufacturing, it's around digital twins, and around AEC, it's about obviously expressing storytelling and real-time graphics. And it's not just Unreal Engine. We have this amazing creator ecosystem that we bring on together. And our kind of mission statement in the AEC is, this was supposed to be a video, by the way, but it's going to be a lovely picture instead, is around enabling content creation for creators. So it's about creating 3D models, 3D experiences, immersive experiences for people to tell stories. So we're the very end process, that layer between construction data, BIM data, and the consumer, the occupants, the client, and real-time graphics are really driving this forward. And I've got some great use cases today which I'm going to share with you. And this is kind of the statement: the freedom to create, innovate, and collaborate like never before. So this is obviously the dream, is that we want this. So we're trying to enable it however possible. So I'm not going to talk about our sort of lower side ecosystem, things like Capturing Reality, ArtStation, Quixel, and Sketchfab. I will focus on these two guys today because they are actually more focused in the AEC. In fact, Twinmotion itself was created for the architecture, engineering, construction market. It's basically Unreal Engine, but with a really simplified UI, because we're not game developers. So learning Unreal Engine can be a little bit of a steep learning curve. But the way that we've come to talk about these two things is Twinmotion is being kind of talked about as the architectural visualization companion. You know, we're not expecting people to drop their proprietary tools. We want this to be the companion alongside your tools, that you can import your models in real time, add some contextual information, some assets, and actually have a presentable 3D world that you can throw to the client for approvals or presentations or even an open discussion. So it's very important that our tools work very well with your softwares and your information. So Twinmotion is really the first step in that equation. Whereas the Unreal Engine, who doesn't need a plane asset? I mean, come on. Whereas the Unreal Engine, we tend to talk about as being this advanced 3D real-time creation platform. Text disappeared for some reason. And that's where you take that 3D model, those 3D graphics, to the next level. You build custom functionality into doing things that you are bespoke to your client or your end use, like creating digital twins, like creating interactive asset management tools, like creating a contextualized data format to kind of express sort of different things like new builds and new constructions. So Unreal is the next level. Twinmotion is really that entry level into it. And again, we're going to talk a little bit more about how these two tools have been utilized in a couple of different use cases, just to get you familiar with the process. Oh, no, my text messed up, I'm so sorry. These are the 4 key pillars that we really focus on, that we believe are very important to addressing problems you guys face within the industry. A lot of them were mentioned, first of all, in the presentation, which is great, things like interoperability, data management. So data aggregation is a huge thing for us. You know, how do we work well with your guys' tools? The second one is the ecosystem. You know, it's not just about bringing people into our software and then we keep them there. It's about making sure we're well connected to the wider ecosystem, like 3D Repo as an example. Collaboration, oh my goodness, I'm being forced ahead. Collaboration is, if we go back one, oh, there we are. Collaboration, very important, especially in the year and a half that we've just all had. How do we collaborate virtually? How do we work together whenever we're not able to be in the same room? We're used to standing in a room and discussing something, but how do we do that digitally? And the last one is one model, any output. So it can be an image, a video, a VR experience, or an application that's distributed on the web. And these tools enable all of this. So I'm going to start with data aggregation, really interesting topic for the AEC. We have this amazing tool called Datasmith, which allows it to work alongside Twinmotion and Unreal, that allows you to import your data from a variety of different sources through our non-destructive data importation process. Because the aim is we don't just want to import your data and then you have to do a ton of work to make it look good. No, we want to get your data in and it already look good. It already should be optimized for use in that next scale application. And we work with a huge amount of different organizations, both internally to make sure we connect to Rhinos and Revits and 3D Maxes, but we also have an SDK which we look to connect into other organizations such as Esri, Bentley, ArchiCAD, and Vectorworks. And the great thing about Datasmith is it brings across metadata. So it's not just a dumb model importer, it's actually an intelligent one where your metadata takes a priority and you have that live sync. So again, remember, Ultimate Design Companion tool is kind of the approach we're going for, and we realize the importance that the BIM metadata can play. And especially whenever you want to create a custom application where it's been driven by that BIM metadata. And we kind of see ourselves as being the great aggregator of data, or to give you guys the great aggregation of data where it can be multiple different data sources from different locations, from landscape from Rhino to buildings in Revit to 4D construction data all the way through to IoT data from digital twins like Azure into the one place. So let's see some examples of this. So first off, on the digital twin side, whenever we say we incorporate more than just the 3D models, our first example is Build Media, who have recently created a digital twin of Wellington, New Zealand. Now, this is an amalgamation of GIS, BIM, photogrammetry data from a whole host of different sources and linking in IoT data from the local Wellington City Council. Now, the magic of Unreal is about creating that bespoke experience and contextualizing data in a way that people will understand. I don't know if anyone's ever looked at the London Data Store recently, but it is terrible for understanding the data. It's full of JSON and XML files, which general publics are not engaged in. So Wellington City Council have invested on this technology so they can connect with their citizens. They can share that data in a very immersive experience, an interactive experience, like things like bus routes, parking spaces, interactive things like aircrafts and shipping routes coming in. And all of this is being pixel streamed to iPads so any of the citizens within the city can actually interact with it. So really good sort of use case of these different data sets coming together. And the other one, I brought through this in just because we're talking about BIM today. People have actually started using Unreal Engine to create their own BIM applications. So kind of getting sick of the ecosystem that's being created by certain large corporations, they've actually said, okay, well, we actually want to build our own tools. And because Unreal's a toolbox, they've integrated in a BIM creation platform where you can go in and actually model in this pre-visualization environment. You can add your own families, you can add your own information. And this is the kind of flexibility that game engines provide. And Modumate, they're based over in the US, are developing this tool to allow people this design tool that's more integrative and immersive and takes advantage of all the great things that gaming engines do, like collaboration, the data aggregation side that we just saw, but at the same time, realizing it's important to also link into all the other data. So you can export back to AutoCAD or Rhino if you really, really want to. Connected ecosystem, this is a really fun one. Our ecosystem is very connected, and we don't want to just basically give people a visualization tool, you create a nice visualization, and then that's it, it dies there. We want to make sure that that journey can continue, what I often call the building afterlife, where you can create a visualization, make it look nice, but then that could go on and be one of many things. It could be a training video for fire escape, it could be a VR experience for getting people familiar with the building, it could be a digital twin. So we're looking at connecting all our workflow together. But it's not just about our workflow, it's about connecting to a wide resource of other ecosystems to make sure that your geospatial data from Esri or CCM, to make sure that your construction data from 3D Repo, your scanning data from Cinto is also integrated into that system, that you can use Unreal as that front-end visualization tool to the very amazing complex back-end systems that are handling the bigger AEC problems. And so the two examples I have is just talk a little bit about the geospatial data and then obviously talk about there's a new project that was announced earlier this week with HOK and the work that's been done at 3D Repo. But starting with geospatial data, everyone might be familiar with Esri. Cesium are very similar to them. They've got this big geospatial database full of GIS technology, or 3D tiles of the world. And they've created a plugin into the engine that you can stream that data into the engine on the fly. So you don't have to import and optimize. Wherever your point is in the world, it will load the geometry and load the information from that exact point. So you can go from Montreal to Melbourne all in the same instance. And with the double point precision we're introducing in Unreal Engine 5, you're going to be able to have an accurate project where you could go from here to the moon and be millimeter accurate on where your project is. So, jumping on to HOK. This is their center block project. It's the Parliament building in Canada. And they've used a whole host of different ecosystem tools. They've got their Twinmotion is used for their early visualization. They're using Cinto to bring in their 75 terabytes of scanning data into the engine. They're using CCM to geolocate it in the one place. And they're using 3D Repo in order to analyze and manage their BIM data and analyze their revisions. And it's this huge scale project that requires more than one application. It requires more than one person. It requires more than one company. And this open ecosystem allows that to happen and allows them to manage that data and continue to develop in the years to come. I think they're currently 3 years deep in a 7-year process, and the tools that are being used at the moment is from the visualization all the way through to the management of the BIM models with 3D Repo. Collaboration, I'll be quick, I'm very cautious of time, don't want to keep you, but collaboration, again, natively built in. This is what game engines are famous for. Making games where you can get 100 people in the same space and shoot each other, except without the shooting, because that's maybe a little bit not what we're looking for in the AEC. But this is natively built into the engine, so you can actually host and have people running around in the same space. And who wouldn't love that for a collaboration space? And with pixel streaming, this is their way of taking these high fidelity models into a web browser. So you don't have to have sort of simplistic models if you don't want to. If you want to push for that higher graphics, pixel streaming is really our technology that allows you to host that on the web so you can continue to have it. And Thea this is an example of a multi-user collaboration template that was advanced on. Thea look at creating an environment for architects and engineers to go into to have discussions in a space that they can, it's very weird that they chose a pin-up room, but it's familiar to people and people know how pin-up spaces work. But it's a way that you can have these virtual interactions. And over COVID, this proved wildly successful because people were still able to have that human connection without having to be sitting on a Zoom call sharing a screen. So you can do everything from interact with your models, draw, or actually change materials on the fly. So these are the things which people are now utilizing. And the example earlier with Modumate, it's these technologies that they're integrating into their BIM platform. Can we imagine one in a BIM model where we're all walking around in these applications? It'd be brilliant. And the other one is from Zaha. Now this is showing pixel streaming in action. This is on a browser. They have built a model configurator that is linked to manufacturing data of prefabricated components in Honduras. So this takes your aggregation of data, but rather than limiting it to people who have gaming laptops, you can host this on the web and have it go to anyone, even if they've got an iPad or an iPhone or a 12-year-old Lenovo laptop. So pixel streaming is allowing that functionality that you have in the engine, but over the web. And this is a really sort of diverse project, which also linked back to the data aggregation part, which I really like, of linking it to manufacturing data so you can actually get intelligent cost-related data on the fly. And lastly, one platform, many outputs. This is very simple. We want to make sure that you guys can output this to any hardware and to any tools that you want, whether it be Oculus Quest, HTCs, whether or not you want to make a PlayStation application, it's up to you as well, but we do offer that, obviously. So again, today it could be an image, tomorrow it could be an animation, the next day it could be VR. That option is open to you using our game engine technologies. Foster's use the XR side very literally. They use it in their design process and look at ways that they can integrate Unreal into an actual site visit so that they can go onto site with a backpack and a VR headset with the client so they can actually contextually see the project in its actual location. It looks a little bit mental, space age, because they're wearing backpacks. I often say the hardware's got a long way to go. The software is there, though. Is that the technology's ready, hardware still makes it look a little bit mental. I don't think I'd walk anywhere in London where I couldn't be able to see in front of me. It'd be very dangerous. But it does show you the future potential of where XR technologies are going to go. So I love this output of, whatever you can imagine, you can push the limits on in terms of output. And this is my favorite one because they linked Unreal Engine up to 12 laser projectors which project onto a white massing model in the middle of a room. It's the closest thing to holograms I've ever seen, but it allows for an interactive, large-scale environment to be immersive and actually guide people through real-time data which is coming from the urban master plan. So again, the output is very open, programmable to whatever you need it to be. I don't like this statement, game engines are changing the world. It's actually from our marketing deck. I prefer that you guys are changing the world, and gaming engines are there to enable you. So we're here to support the AEC, we're here to support the tools that you're using. Real-time is there as a tool to utilize to answer some of the questions like collaboration, like aggregation, and we're continuing to be open and developing that. And all of these things that we're doing, we continue to develop them to make them more integrated in with your guys' work systems and your guys' problems. So we're always interested from hearing what your issues are and what you'd like to see developed. And Unreal's free. Woo. Completely free and open. It's open source. You have access to the entire source code if you need it. Twinmotion isn't free. Small cost to it. We go down the perpetual, so if you buy it, you own it forever. Everyone else seems to love this subscription service. We don't. But yeah, feel free to get started. And if you have any questions, come grab me afterwards.